Today I'm going to be talking about how you can be more effective at solving problems and how that can help you to worry less. Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about effective problem-solving tools and how you can use those tools to help you worry less. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I am a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a replacement or substitute for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those two things out of the way, let's start talking about problem solving. So this is a continuation of our series on learning worry management skills and effective worry management tools. And so far we've gone through our basic model and engine of worry. We've talked about the role of intolerance of uncertainty as the fuel that drives this worry engine. We've talked about worry beliefs that tend to perpetuate or keep worries going because people perceive that the worry is doing something useful for them. And in the last video, we started talking about type 1 worries. Worries about actual, current, real problems. And we talked about the best way of dealing with type 1 worries is to solve the problem that you're worrying about. If you're able to effectively solve the problem that you're worrying about, you're not going to be worrying about it anymore. But one of the barriers to effective problem solving is something called negative problem orientation. This tendency to view problems in an overly negative way. And what that can do is interfere in a person even beginning to start the problem-solving process itself. So we talked in the last video about how to improve problem orientation and how to deal with this negative problem orientation so that it allows you to actually use the problem-solving skills you have. So this video builds on that last video, and it's really about talking and learning really effective strategies or tools to better solve problems. Now, a lot of this may seem pretty intuitive and pretty obvious, but what I like about it is that it's kind of a recipe that you can use to deal with those problems that tend to seem like they're more difficult to solve. These are those recurring problems that come up over and over again, or problems that you just really seem to be struggling to find a solution to. So it's not going to be for every problem that you're faced with, but it can be helpful for those more challenging problems that you're finding that you're getting stuck dealing with. So what we're going to be talking about is 6 steps in problem solving. And these 6 steps, like I said, it's kind of like a recipe. And if you follow the recipe, what you'll find is that you're a lot more effective, or it gives you a framework to be more effective in terms of solving problems. So the very first step in problem solving is one you probably already know and probably pretty obvious to you, is that you need to define the problem. And the way I like to think about defining the problem is to sort of ask yourself 3 questions. What is the situation that currently is? What would I like the situation to be? And what is the barrier or the obstacle between what is and what should be? Because then you can reframe the problem as a question about how you address or remove the barrier to get the situation to what you want it to be. So the first step is defining what your problem is. So let's use an example as we go along here. Suppose my problem is that I'm feeling like I'm overweight, that I need to lose some weight. And the barrier I've discovered is that I really just don't have a very healthy lifestyle. My lifestyle is one that it doesn't allow me to be particularly healthy with regards to diet, with regards to exercise. And so the problem is that my lifestyle is preventing me from being more healthy and helping me lose weight. So step 1, define the problem. Step 2 comes directly from step 1, and it's defining what the goal is. So I've defined the problem, but what is it that I want? What is my goal? And to try to be as kind of specific and clear and behavioral as possible with regards to the goal. So in my example, the goal may be that I want to lose 15 pounds. So that's my goal. So that leads us to the third step, which is what I call the brainstorming step, coming up with alternative possible solutions to address this problem. Now, I find that with a lot of the clients I work with, this is the part of the problem solving that they tend to rush through. The idea with brainstorming is you want to try and generate possible solutions to help you address this problem. And those possible solutions need to meet sort of three principles for effective or good brainstorming. The first principle is what I call the quantity principle. And what that means is you want to generate a lot of possible solutions. What people often do when they're engaging in problem solving, they just come up with the first one or two ideas or solutions that come to mind, and that's what they go with. Brainstorming takes it beyond just those one or two possible solutions and gets you to think about lots of different possible solutions. So when you're thinking about brainstorming, I like to tell people, rough rule of thumb, 10 to 15 possible solutions to this problem. So that's the quantity principle. The second principle of effective brainstorming is the diversity or different types of possible solutions. So if, for example, I'm going through my brainstorming and I'm coming up with possible solutions like my possible solution is to go to the gym and run on the treadmill. Another possible solution is to go to the gym and ride the exercise bike. Another possible solution is to go to the gym and go on the elliptical trainer. Now, these are all different solutions, but they're all kind of the same solution. So you want some diversity in the possible solutions that you're coming up with. So it's not just the same thing over and over again. You want some variety in the possible solutions you're coming up with. So one of my possible solutions could be going to the gym and running on the treadmill. Or it could be eating more salad, or hiring a personal trainer, or taking up hiking, or going on a low-carb diet, or packing my own lunch for lunch rather than getting something at a restaurant. So I'm coming up with lots of different possible solutions to help solve the problem, or that could potentially solve the problem. The third principle of brainstorming is one that I find that people really struggle with. And this principle refers to deferring judgment. In other words, when you're brainstorming, you're not actually judging the possible solutions that you're coming up with. You're just coming up with the solutions. It's not about evaluating whether or not the solutions will work. The idea is you want to be as creative as possible with your solutions. You want to get out of the typical box that you usually think of when it comes to solving problems and think a little bit outside of that box. So when you're doing the brainstorming, some of the solutions you come up with should be a bit out there. They should be a bit ridiculous and bizarre. Because what that means is that you're allowing yourself to think outside how you typically think. I once had this experience with a client. This was a mom of 2 kids, and she loved her kids dearly, but she just wasn't getting enough time away from the kids where she could do things to recharge her batteries. And so she tried all of the things like babysitting swaps with other moms or having her parents look after the kids, but she just wasn't getting a big enough chunk of time away from her kids. And so one of the things that she came up with as she was doing the brainstorming was putting her kids on a rocket and sending them to the moon. And so she thought, well, that's kind of a ridiculous idea. I could never do that. But it got her thinking, okay, well, I can't send my kids to the moon, but I can send them to summer camp. And so she got the idea to register them for a summer camp, and they went away to a sleepover camp. She had a week away from them, really recharged her batteries, and she felt really great because it had helped solve the problem of having some time away from her kids where she could really charge her batteries. And so she wouldn't have got there if she hadn't allowed her mind to go into kind of really out there possible solutions like sending the kids to the moon. So you want to defer your judgment, allow yourself to be creative, allow yourself to be a bit out there with the possible solutions. It's not about judging the solutions at this point. So after brainstorming, then you want to evaluate the possible solutions. This is where you determine whether or not those solutions could potentially work. So in order to evaluate the solutions, I like to get people to think of a few questions. So first of all, will this possible solution likely solve my problem? So for example, if one of the solutions I came up with while I was doing my brainstorming to help me lose weight is to go and do an all donut diet. Well, it's kind of an out there solution, but it's probably not going to solve my problem. It's probably not going to help me lose that 15 pounds. So right there, I can dismiss that solution as one that's probably not going to be all that effective. Another question I want to ask is how much time and effort is going to be involved in this solution? So if I come up with a solution of going to the gym 7 days a week and working out 8 hours a day, well, chances are that's going to help me get into really good shape, but it's not really all that realistic. And it's probably way more time and way more effort than I'm willing to do, so I'm unlikely to do that solution. I'm going to want to think about what will be the impact on myself? How will I feel about myself for coming up with the solution or implementing the solution? And what will be the impact on other people if I implement this solution? So for example, if one of the potential solutions I came up with is to steal my best friend's girlfriend, who happens to be a personal trainer, so I can get free personal training lessons, well, that might help me get into better shape because she'll give me free personal training lessons. But I'm probably not going to feel very good about myself for having done that. And my friend probably isn't going to be too pleased with me for having done that either. So that's not a very good solution either. So you have this list of possible solutions that you've brainstormed. So the idea is to try and evaluate these solutions based on these questions and to try to come up with the best possible solution, not the perfect solution. There likely will be no perfect solution. And so it's at this stage where you have to really tolerate some uncertainty because you're not going to know exactly what the best solution is. You're just going to have to pick one that seems like it's the best solution and go with it, tolerating the uncertainty of that. So once you've decided on a solution, the fifth step is to actually come up with a plan and implement the solution. So if I come up with, if one of my solutions is to eat more salad, I need to come up with a plan for how I'm going to actually implement the solution of eating more salad. So I'm going to make sure to add salad to my grocery list. I'm going to make an effort to buy the salad mix, so salad dressing, all of the fixings for the salad. And I may pick a day of the week. Maybe Tuesday or Thursday will be my salad days. And so I'll make a plan to implement eating more salad on those days. So I come up with a plan and then I implement the plan. And then the final step, step 6, is one that people often don't think about, but it's actually pretty critical in terms of problem solving. And step 6 is to verify whether or not the solution has worked. So to have sort of a set date or a set time that you're going to look back and say, okay, I've been doing the solution, I've been implementing my plan. Has it helped? So maybe I give myself a month of eating salad every Tuesday and Thursday. And so what I do is I weigh myself at the end of the month and see whether or not it's worked. If it has worked, that's great. I can reward myself, give myself a pat on the back for coming up with a solution and implementing it and it working. So I can feel good about myself for having taken some steps to solve this problem. But if it hasn't worked, if in the solution verification stage, I realize I actually haven't lost any weight, I've actually gained a few pounds, then this is an opportunity for me to look back on my problem-solving approach and to ask myself, where might things have gone wrong? Well, maybe I didn't define the problem correctly. Maybe when I look back on my brainstorming, I only came up with one or two solutions. I didn't actually do the brainstorming that well. Maybe when it comes to evaluating the possible solutions, I look back on it and realize, you know what, the one that I picked seemed like it was going to work, but it didn't. Maybe I should try one of the other possible solutions that I came up with. Or I could look at it and say, hey, you know what, maybe the solution that I picked would have worked if I'd actually done it. And so looking back on it, I realized I didn't actually do a very good job of implementing the solution that I came up with. So the idea of the solution verification step is to help you to look back and figure out where it went wrong, if it did go wrong, and then to problem solve, or then to try different approaches or different tweaks to your solution to try to get at a solution that works. So the process is self-correcting if you allow it to be self-correcting and if you allow yourself the opportunity to reflect on whether or not it's working. So those are 6 steps to a recipe of 6 steps to help you solve problems more efficiently. So you might be wondering, okay, well, that's all great and interesting and all, but how does that help me worry less? Well, the idea is, with these type 1 worries, if you're able to more effectively solve the problem that you're worrying about, then you're not going to be worrying about it anymore. Understanding these problem-solving steps can also help you recognize what problem-solving is versus what it isn't, right? So when we talked about worry beliefs, one of the common worry beliefs is that worry helps me solve problems. Well, by understanding what problem-solving looks like, defining the problem, defining a goal, brainstorming, evaluating possible solutions, implementing a plan, and then verifying whether or not the plan worked, that's much different than worrying about negative things happening from this problem. So understanding these steps to problem solving also helps you understand a little bit better what problem solving looks like, what effective, active problem solving looks like, versus worrying about a problem. Now, obviously, these problem-solving steps that I'm talking about aren't going to be applicable to every problem. Now, there are some problems that are just pretty simple to solve, right? So if I take my lunch to work every day, and one day I forgot my lunch at home, well, I'm not necessarily going to have to go through these 6 steps of problem solving to figure out what it is that I need to do. I'll just go down to the food court and buy myself lunch. But these problem-solving steps can be really helpful for some of those more difficult problems. Some of those problems that you find that you're struggling with or that you've been struggling with for a while. And so if you can break down the problems and use this problem-solving recipe, it might be able to help you get to a more effective solution to the problem. And to assist with that, I'm going to link to a problem-solving worksheet down in the description below, so you can download that worksheet, and it can help you walk through these 6 steps of problem solving, just as a way of writing down how you're going to approach the problem. I hope you found that helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas about this, so please leave me some comments down below. If you're interested in seeing more of my videos, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you'll be alerted whenever I post a new video. So that's it for today. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.